35 lovely degrees here on the Q1206, and we go on the throttle as we always do with Dwayne Hancock. And Dwayne, first of all, we will welcome you in and ask you how your Christmas went. You seemed to be a pretty good boy last year, but did Santa agree or not?
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple brand new Sammy Swindell shirts, so you can never ever go wrong when you get some brand new Sammy Swindell shirts for Christmas.
so no coal, no thistles, no nasty stuff under the tree, just wonderful clothing.
Yeah, just a couple Sammy Swindell shirts and a bottle of Jack Daniels. I mean, you couldn't really ask for a bunch of anything better, really.
I think a good racing fan would be delighted for that kind of Christmas. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, we have a guest today on our Brian Ford Lincoln Zoom line today. Why don't you make that introduction for us?
Yeah, glad to have a guy that hopefully is going to be getting his first race under his belt this weekend. The new promoter at Millstream Speedway in Findlay, Ohio. Scott Warner, welcome to On the Throttle.
Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to the conversation, and it's a nice little after Christmas gift to be able to come on the radio.
Yeah, I mean, Millstream, it's a place near and dear in my heart. I've been going there since I've been a couple years old, and we all know it's had some issues over the few years, but man, I listened to your deal last week with Scott Hammer, which Scott's been a guest of our show, and I tell you, I mean, it sounds like you got a good, solid plan for this deal, and you understand it's not going to happen overnight. I think you're on to something very good, and I hope and pray that everybody else around there is on board with you to make it all happen.
Yeah, the local Findlay area and all the people that have been going to track for a long time, like yourself, have been really supportive. As you kind of alluded to, the track's been off and on and off and on. So for us to really do well, we have to show our credibility and being able to put on a good show every time we come out, start on time, end on time. One of the drawbacks in the past maybe have been that the shows went a little long. So we're we want to be really aware of making sure we get everyone out on a Sunday night, because we're a Sunday night show, get everyone out on a Sunday night at a reasonable time, and so everyone get to work on Monday. But during our 3 hours of having track activities, it's going to be nonstop fun and fast. And it's a sprint car track. It's always been a sprint car track, but we are going to run 6 different divisions, and we're going to run 3 a night. So they'll rotate through when we run through the year. So we'll have the 410s, 305s, and then modifieds, late models, and then we're going to run it's the longest name in the whole thing. It's a straight stock bomber. It's a Fremont truck. So all 3 of those run together. So we are having a naming contest to see if we can shorten that one up. And then the 4-cylinder guys have been wanting to come out, and we'll see. We're a little bit bigger track. We're a half mile, so we'll see how the 4 cylinders make it around the track. I think they'll do well. We just want to just watch them race, but we need to get some cars out for that, because the more cars on with the 4 cylinders, the more fun it is. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's a class that's really becoming popular at several tracks across the United States, just not in this region. I travel a lot, and you see more and more. And I think it's kind of because of the cost. Before you used to be able to get a bomber, back when Millstream was running in the 80s and 90s and that, you could get a bomber for, $5,000 to $8,000 and be competitive. And now, I mean, that won't even buy an engine in some of these. So the compacts, you can do that. You can have $5,000 in a compact and have one of the best compacts out there. So I think that's why, and I'm glad to see you're adding them to the deal too. And sounds like you got a wide range of cars and hitting there. And I know you're doing before, not to let too much out of the bag, your schedule's not coming out here towards the end of January, but sounds like 12, 13 races and a couple Sundays a month, not an every week deal, which I think will be good too.
Yep, exactly. We do have what we call the 13th race, which is the Hangover 2. But for the regular season, it's shaping out to be 12 races. And you're right, it's about every other weekend. And it kind of starts on the second Sunday of the month. me being a little selfish, we're not racing any holidays, so we're not going to race Memorial Day, Labor Day, or 4th of July. But I have talked to, kind of going back to the philosophy of the track to start out with, I really want to have local drivers get an opportunity to race at the track. And then talking to some of those guys, because a lot of the guys are either going Attica, Fremont, then us, or Attica, Oakshade, then us. It's really wearing on them to run 3 nights in a row every single week. So they all said, hey, we want to come, but we probably couldn't be able to pull it off every single weekend. So that's why we're rotating through to make sure that we can get a good car count on Sunday nights, because being the tail end of 3, it's always tough. But I think by giving everyone some time in the middle there, we should have a good car count for all the divisions. So, that first year is really a learning experience for everybody. We have a pretty seasoned group coming in. I'm the rookie. All the other people at the track are veterans. Keith Beeching is our competition director. We have a lot of people that have push truck experience, fire experience, flagmen, all those spots, we have seasoned people at. So that part's good, but we need to gel up as a group. And then we need to just prove ourselves week in and week out that we can do this. And then, kind of the other thing you alluded to, when I did, for a brief period of time, I raced a bomber, and that was the entry level back in the, in the 90s. And that's, you could still find a Cutlass Supreme or, whatever you wanted to run. Well, you can't go to the junkyard and find that anymore. And that 4-cylinder division to me is critical, because that's the first step for somebody. If they're not racing quarter midgets or something else like that, but the first, kind of like a full-size car, that is now the 4 cylinders. And right. I think we really need to promote that, because we need these next kids, these groups of kids coming in to find something that they can work on to get to the track and to go up, and jumping into the bomber, stock, or truck, or whatever we want to call that now. It's a financial leap. We need that entry level where, maybe they just do it a couple years and it's not their thing. Great. But if not, you go from that 4-cylinder up to whatever you want to go up to next. Is it a 305? Is it a late model? Is it a sportsman? Whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree, and that's why I love that you're adding them on there, because it's the entry level deal. And guys like Chad Kemp, I mean, there's pictures of him winning a street stock feature at Millstream in the past, and now he's a 6-time All-Star champ, a former World Outlaw regular, and you need that, and it's cool to see that you're bringing that. And you hit on something of guys not be able to race 3 days a week, which is good. That's why I think you got a very smart approach to this. And it is the third race of the weekend, but you're in the right location where you can get, I think, Southern Ohio cars, Eastern cars, Western cars, some Indiana and Michigan cars too, which I think that'll make that's what's always kind of made Millstream special, is you never know where the cars are coming from. I mean, besides the hardcore Ohio guys, that, but good shows, you get cars coming sometimes from 3-4 states pretty regularly.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. It is a little bit unique that we're not really focusing just on 3 different divisions every single week, but I think it will help draw in quite a few people. And the track's been closed for so long, and stopped and started, but so many people have raced there, and we're talking over multiple divisions, and so they're like, I just want to come back. And so it's nice to include as many as we can. Initially the modifieds weren't on my radar, but man, those guys are really vocal about coming to the track. And, so it'll be kind of neat, because I think for me, that's more south and to the west than I'm used to, because I'm used to the tracks, Millstream and north. And so we just don't see a lot of modifieds that way. So it'll be kind of neat seeing them, those guys come to the track.
No doubt. Scott, can you give us a little history here? How did you get involved with this whole process?
Sure. So been a racing fan my whole life, initially from Swanton. So went out to Oakshade quite a bit. And then when we wanted to see sprint cars, we'd go to Fremont or we'd run down to Millstream. And so I was kind of involved in racing that way. Then through high school, a friend of mine's dad owned a late model. So I started helping them briefly. That actually led me to Ron Miller, out of all things, because he ended up racing their car. Okay. So I was helping him, and then which led me to Steve Miller, his son. I helped on his late model, but at the same time, there was a guy in Toledo who has a ARCA Speedway car. So started working for him on the Speedway car. So went to Talladega and Daytona and Pocono and Michigan. So it was really neat back in the, the Earnhardt days and things like that, going to see these guys, because back then there was a tire war and we raced Hoosiers, but we had to go over to the Goodyear stand, which got me into the NASCAR. And I was a tire guy, so I had to go into the NASCAR pits, and seeing all the, all my heroes over there was great. But then I had a bomber for a little while, and then I had a family, so I kind of let a lot of that go and went to school and did all that good stuff, but still loved racing. And I've known the track owner for 30 plus years. And earlier this spring, right when COVID was really starting to get on the radar, I started asking him about the track and why isn't it open and all that good stuff. And he's like, let's see if we can open it up, or if you want to do it. That was more like you got to do it. So that's where it's at. So me and my family. So my wife's really supportive. I have 2 boys also. They love doing this, and my daughter. So you'll see all 5 of us at the track doing work. And that's what led to opening it up. So having an agreement so we can do this for as long as we want. And I see this being for me personally, it's a long-term thing. So it's just not, what are we going to do in 2021? For me, it's, I see capital improvements throughout the track, and the track is, it took a lot of time to get it to where it even is today, but we have so much more work that we want to do to it to get it up to be, like the benchmark things. So like Attica is probably the benchmark around here for how they run their show and the quality of the show and things like that. So that's my benchmark right now, is to get up to where they're at. But then facility wise, you take a look at something like Eldora, that is like the highest benchmark we can come up with in a dirt scenario. So, trying to benchmark it to that. And then you look at other maybe entertainment venues and how they do things, and, take some of how you do concessions, or how you actually interact with fans and things like that, and keep on raising that bar every single year. And that's kind of my approach to it.
Wonderful. Scott Warner is our guest right now. He's with Millstream Speedway in Findlay. He's got a race coming up. I have Dwayne Hancock as well, but we need to pay some bills, guys. You all know about sponsors and how we got to keep our sponsors happy. That's exactly what we need to do right now on the Throttle. Is 12:19. When we come back, we'll get into what's going to happen in 2021 at Millstream Speedway, and more importantly, what's going to happen here shortly, just right around the corner. In fact, this week in Millstream, when we come back on the Throttle and the Q. Brian Ford Lincoln, one of our sponsors on our racing program on the Throttle every Monday afternoon. And we have on the Brian Ford Lincoln race Zoom mobile here today, one Scott Warner with us. And Scott, let's talk a little bit about what you're hoping to do here this week.
Sure. So I probably start out a little bit before that. Sandusky Speedway has helped us quite a bit. Chris Mize and Doug Dock have been really supportive of our track, which is kind of unique since they're an asphalt track. Every year for many, many, many years, Sandusky Speedway has had the hangover. And we started talking a little bit about, wouldn't it be neat to do a crossover race, asphalt one day, dirt the next. Then some of the guys that have had a lot of success at the Sandusky race happen to be dirt guys. And so started hearing it from those guys. One guy in particular, since he's won most of these, as Ron Miller was pretty adamant that we should probably try something like this. But we had quite a few drivers come up and say, hey, why don't you guys give it a try? So we're going to run what we call the Hangover 2, January 2nd at Millstream. And it follows the same rules as the Hangover. So we're cross-promoting this. It's the same classes, same everything, same ticket prices, same starting time. And if you're not familiar with it, it normally happens rain or shine at Sandusky, unless it gets really cold. And there's a champagne stock, a moonshine stock, and a whiskey stock. And those classes are pretty much, the champagne is unlimited, and they run these crazy sideboards on the side. Some of the guys do. And you can kind of, bring anything you want, just can't be a sprint car. And then the moonshine stock, again, is that long, goofy name of street stock, bomber, Fremont truck, one of those. And then the whiskey stock is a front wheel drive class, which I always said, oh, it's a 4-cylinder class, but I've been corrected a couple times because I guess there's a couple 6-cylinder front wheel drives that are running around. So those are the 3 classes. We are, the pit gate's going to open at 9. The main gate opens at 11 and racing's at 1. And we're hoping that all the cars that go over to Sandusky come over to Millstream and vice versa. So we really want to cross promote it that way. Who's the best on asphalt and dirt? And so we're hoping for that. But if people have been looking at the weather, doesn't affect Sandusky as much as it would affect us. It looks like there's rain coming Wednesday, and then there's also some rain coming Friday. So we're keeping an eye on that. And once we know which way we can go, we'll let everyone know. But we're hoping for Saturday for sure. If not, we would just postpone the race to a different date. We would definitely run the hangover to this year. So looking forward
That's
to
cool. And and that's the thing, being on dirt and the pit area, most dirt tracks, there's a lot of, soft ground in the pit area, where Sandusky's a little more lucky. They have a lot of stone and paved pit area. So hopefully it all works out. I know there's been a lot of talk about it. I know some of the truck drivers and different people is coming over to the Millstream one for sure and racing. So I think it's going to be good. Millstream, it seems like no matter what, when the gates kick open in that place, that's one thing, that community, that area, that town, even does this support. I mean, no matter how long it's been down, or it seems like who's there, a lot of people come out to that place, and that's one thing that's been unique about it. And man, that's why I think you got a good game plan, even for the hangover. And like I said, get your feet wet a little bit too of getting a race in the books right away.
Yeah, what makes the track unique for people that haven't been there, or if you kind of, if you've been there and don't quite remember, we have a lot of seating on the hills on turns 1 and 2 and in 4. So you can bring out your lawn chairs, and there's actually about 3 tiers of seating there. So you can bring out your lawn chairs and your blankets and wrap up, but it's pretty cool when you sit down in turn 1 and you're looking straight down the front straightaway, and you see the cars coming off of 4, and you can see them coming straight at you, and then they're going to turn just before they get to you. But you can get some other angles that most tracks really can't, the way they're structured, they can't do that. So we do have, we are following the guidelines, the same guidelines that happened for high school fall sports, the outdoor sports. So we do have to follow the guidelines, 15% seated capacity, which will probably be okay for this event. And then we have your standard restrictions where people need to sit together, family members all need to sit together, and everyone else needs to be 6 feet apart, which isn't a problem in our facility. And we always have some directional things for people when they come in and out, and concession stand and things of that nature. But we can do it for this race, but we need things to change for spring, which is the reason we couldn't race the 2 races in the fall that we wanted, because the limitations on people, you have to, for us, other tracks have, Dwayne's, I think, very good at this. If you get the right sponsors, it helps carry the cost of the racing. For us, we're not there yet. So it's going to take us a while to build up those sponsors to help pay for the racing. And so we really need people in the stands to be able to do that. And that's really the plan for 2021, is to build that up. So, we need that to change for the fall, because we believe the first race in May with 410s will probably be a pretty big show. And, we need to make sure we have full capacity for that.
Well, yeah, and that's like you said, something unique about Millstream, and that's usually, as a kid growing up, mom, dad, everybody, a bunch of my friends, like we still sit there and seeing a sprint car, a late model coming right towards you, then turning. It's quite thrilling there. And a little trivia information. This is actually where Dirt Nerds was formed, is on the hill at Millstream Speedway.
Really?
A lot of people don't realize that. I had no clue who Elliot was. He lived 10 miles from me, and he come in Millstream the one race back. I think it was the All-Star one, and he's like, I want to interview you. I'm like, interview me for what? and he was writing for Dirt on Dirt then too, and just about all my involvement. And next thing you know, he asked me to be on Dirt Nerds, and that's how that started. So some things happen on that hill besides just racing, some friendships and some, who knows what happens, podcast, everything. So,
And some things we won't talk about. Some things need to be secret, okay, for the rest of it. So let's not share all the memories there, Dwayne. How's that?
Yeah, okay.
It's been quiet this year, I can tell you that. Nothing weird's going on so far in 2020. Actually, nothing's been going on in 2020, which is the problem.
Right, but hopefully 2021, like I said, getting things kicked off. Hopefully this weekend. But I love your approach. I really do. I mean, because you got a realistic approach. I think about it. It's going to take a little time, and I've heard you talk on the other show about the purses. It's one thing we haven't talked about yet, but we obviously can't do Eldora type purses that have all the big corporate backing, but sounds like you're gonna have decent purse money to bring the cars in, and that's what it takes. And I think you're on the right track, and getting an experienced crew. I mean, that alone, I think, is more crucial than a lot of people even realize. To have an experienced crew, even though you haven't all worked together, having some experience there, I think, is really going to pay off, especially your first year for you.
Yeah, the purse has been something that talked about with drivers and people like that, where you really kind of get what you pay for with the purse, I think. And so if we're not going to pay a lot, the show might be a little different, but we want to make sure that people come out and they're excited about the purse, and we get the right car counts and things of that nature. So my philosophy on that is, you just kind of get what you pay for. And so we want to make sure we have the right mix. It's just been kind of an interesting thing. I think for this race alone, for the Hangover, we're about a staff of, we're into the 40s. And then when we get up to, the regular season, we'll be north of 50, probably maybe 60. So finding 60 people that have experience or some connection on how to do things, we won't get a full 60, but there are some key people that you have to have experience with. And especially from my point of view, I'm a pretty big stickler on timing. So, we're going to start on time. We want to end this early and things like that. To be able to do that, you have to have experience. And I'm the weakest link when it comes to that. So the people that have certain roles at the facility, I'm letting them completely control that area. So I'm not going to be up in the tower saying, oh, we should be running the race this way or that way. That's Keith's job. And he'll be able to execute that perfectly because he has the experience to do it. So I'm relying on all these people to do what they know how to do. And I think if you give the right people the right tools, we'll be pretty successful at this, because I'm just there to have fun. I'm there to look around and make sure everyone's having a good time, and make sure we get cars on one side and people on the other. And that's really my role in it. And the other people have important roles that they can do, and they've done it. And I think they're excited about it too, because everyone wants this track to come back to life. So the support has been incredible, which is, makes my job a lot easier.
Scott, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the other people that are working with you right now at this point, because sometimes you become the face, and all the worker bees out there that are doing such a great job at times get left in the dust.
Well, I'll start with some of the important ones. Concessions happen to be a lot of my family, and a lot of some very good friends of mine who are in there, and they have experience with concessions. Keith Beeching is a competition director, and he has two people he's worked with a lot who, Mike Jr., Mike Sr., Mike Jr. will be the flag man. He's flagged a lot of races. His dad, Senior, is the pit steward. So we have those two in place. We have both the fire and the push truck guys all have experience. Matter of fact, I was asking the other day if we had some experienced push driver, trucks available, and Adam seems to be everywhere. Adam was quick to raise his hand, and I don't know if there's anyone more experienced. He told me there was one other person in Ohio has more experience than him, but I find that hard to believe. But Adam's going to lead the push trucks, and then our fire and ambulance service and tow trucks are all people that have serviced the tracks before. So everyone's been there. And that's the strange thing about this. So many people know more about the history of the track than I do. So a lot of times, I got to close my mouth and just listen and hear what everyone says, because they have so much more experience with the track and history and memories than I have. So it's, I got caught off guard a little bit early on about some of the races that have raced there. And so now that's one of the things we are going to do, short shows just on the track on Wednesdays. We just had one last week. We'll have one in January, although I think we will do one this Wednesday just to give everyone an update for the H2. But I wanted to include kind of a history or a kind of a track fact every week, so I can get myself more up to speed on the history of the track, because it goes way back. We're back into the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing some of the cars that race there, seeing some of the names that race there, and seeing how the track has changed, because it wasn't always necessarily the way it is today. Pits used to be off in turn 4, and then pits moved into the center of the track. Now the pits are behind the track. And then when Earl Baldus owned the track, he made it identical to Eldora. And so if you look at the way the outside wall and the inside walls are, they're identical to Eldora. Even, I've been told, even the drainage, how the drainage works at the track is the same. So, it's got a lot of neat history that I like to get up to speed on. And, it's, for me, I'm taking a historical track and just moving it on so we can get back to racing and everything else. I'm just there kind of as a caretaker to make sure it just keeps on going and be better than, was last year. And then next year will be better than the year was before.
Yeah, that's great. And I've been going there since a little kid, so I remember the no wall and 3 and 4 in the pits and people running across the track and stuff. And actually, Todd Forbes, guy from Bryan, Ohio, that's raced ASA and stuff, used to race sprint cars. He had a pretty nasty crash and turn 3 one time when there wasn't no wall there. So yeah, the history there is amazing. And when you had guys like Jeff Gordon and those guys racing there a lot. So man, we wish you the best of luck for sure. And I know you got, like I said, good purses going on, and I think you're going to have maybe a fast show and a boss show, bring in the non-wings, which has always been a fan favorite in that area. And I definitely think you definitely have the right mindset and on the right track. And man, let's get this thing flying again, because Millstream's always a popular track, one of my favorite tracks. I love Sunday night races. Guys like me, that I can do the 3-peat most of the time, even though teams can't. So, yeah, I mean, it's I see a lot of positive in this, so what that place needs. And I know you've talked about that. There's so much negative anymore. One little hiccup, and I love the positive attitude, and you're going to be there for a while. The way it sounds, this isn't a short-term deal. It's a long-term deal, and man, I see many, many good things coming out of this.
Yeah, thank you. We're trying to be, at least I'm trying to be as transparent as possible for everyone to understand kind of what's going on and the thought process and where we're headed. And, I want to take as many people along with us as we can. So that's why this message is out there, and we're trying to have everyone understand what we're trying to do. I don't want to set any false expectations. By the way, I should also state this, because I get this question a lot. We're not running the All-Star Speed Week show. There's an open Sunday, and everyone's made me aware that there's an open Sunday, but that is not going to be at Millstream. It's just a date, I think. But not saying that the All-Stars wouldn't be a great show. They will be, but I don't think I'm ready for that show yet. So that's the question I probably get every other day.
Scott Warner's our guest right now from Millstream Speedway. And Dwayne, let me pay some bills here real quick. And I do want to get deeper into that. And I also want to get a little bit more definition as to exactly what Scott sees, not only next year, but the following year and the year after that, as we look into the future for Millstream Speedway as well. We need to pay some bills, though, on the throttle. It is 20 minutes now before the hour of 1 o'clock on the Q, 96.5. Final segment of On the Throttle here today, and I have Scott Warner and Dwayne Hancock with me on the Zoom mobile today. Scott Warner, basically at Millstream Speedway, and in the process right now of trying to revitalize and rejuvenate that wonderful racetrack. Scott, I know that Millstream has somewhat of a, let's call it a different or checkered past at times. There have been some folks who've said, Millstream, great place to go, but boy, there's some weird things that happen there on a regular basis. So let's talk about how things are changing that way and how people are going to see different things as the years go forward.
Sure. I'll start out with a kind of interesting story. When I first got down there in April, we opened a concession stand. It looked like there had been someone living there for a little while. And it's been pretty well vandalized. We had a full family of raccoons living in the tower. So we had to get those guys out of there. And so there's a lot of capital improvements that we want to work on. And that's the one thing you'll see at the Hangover 2. We started everything in April and May. And then the idea was to run a race in July and one in August. And then when July came about, they started changing around the attendance policies and things like that. So it kind of pushed us back. And then it got to the point where when the high school football season started, those restrictions were too much for us. So we kind of stopped on the stuff getting the track ready for a race. And we started working on some capital improvement things. So we tore apart part of the bleachers. We started tearing apart the restrooms and things like that. So those items, then when we decided to run the H2, I didn't have enough time to get all those back together again. So there'll be some things that are torn apart while people are there. But by spring, we'll have, the bleachers will be back to better. We will hopefully by sometime in the spring have all of our own bathrooms in the spectator side done. And then, and we also started painting, and we ran out of time to finish painting. So we have a lot of paint to put up all over the track. So you'll see those types of things come out as the year goes on. And then, the property is large. It's a massive property, and we're only going to race, let's say 12 to 13 times. So it seems like a huge unutilized area. And so what else can we do? And I don't know if we have anything really set for 2021, but I can say that I want to look at different things we can do that would not affect racing, but also utilize that area a little bit more. I think there's been a concert or two there in the past. Those aren't bad ideas. I was contacted by a monster truck racing league. I won't do that for 2021, but that sounds kind of intriguing. There's a go-kart track in the center of the track. That's not being used. So there's a lot of different things we can do there. There's some buildings we want to eventually build and then rebuild a few things. So there's going to be capital improvements going along, but they got to be self-funded in a way. I don't come with a lot of financial backing behind me. So a lot of this is going to be driven from successful races to be able to do what we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great plan. And it's funny, before we went to break there, you said you get a question every day about Speed Week. One thing you'll find out, there's a lot of people that know a lot when they sit in the stands. They'll have all kinds of suggestions, trust me.
Yeah, and that's, the one thing that I've noticed, there's a lot of social media stuff going, a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I look at it maybe a little differently than most. If someone is even going to say something negative, they at least went through the effort to say something. So there's some attachment there with the track or with something. And I haven't done anything yet. And so I have to prove, the track has to prove that, every week being able to build that credibility. But yeah, we've seen a lot of different things come out of that. Sometimes it's great suggestions. Sometimes a little smoke with the fire and things like that. But I hear all of it, and I just gotta make sure that we stay focused and stay on track, and we're not going to do anything that doesn't make sense. And we got to crawl, walk, run is the approach. And right now we're crawling and getting ready to walk.
Yeah, I think it's a great approach, and you're right on. I mean, I've kind of took it that way. If you looked at the the very successful race car drivers, Scott Bloomquist, Sammy Swindell, Donnie Schatz, even Dale Earnhardt Sr. when he was alive. They got a lot of booze, and it wasn't because they started seeing them win. And that, like they always said, hey, they're making some kind of noise. That's all you want. They're coming to see you, whether they're coming to cheer for you or not. So that's the right approach on the social media deal for sure. But yeah, I think that's a great approach, and hopefully things kick off well this week. Like I said, if not here in a couple weeks or whatever, but hopefully this Saturday we'll get a lot of people. I know a lot of people from this area have supported Millstream Speedway a lot. It's amazing. Defiance, Bryan area, people in our listener area, because well, a lot of our listeners are in the Findlay, Lima area and Fremont area too. That how many people support Millstream, and I've heard a lot of good things. You know, people just waiting for an approach like this, and I think good things will happen. I think you'll probably have a bigger crowd than you think when the gates kick open this week too.
I hope so. It's, like everything, you just got to manage expectations and kind of go from there. But, I see Millstream is adding to some really good racing in Northwest Ohio. And if we're there and we time things out right, we can help bring better cars to the area. And so where somebody wouldn't come up just for a race, maybe because we're running on Sunday, maybe they'll do 2 races up our way and we can get a better car count. So, I see us as a complement to all the other racetracks in Northwest Ohio, and that's the way I've approached it. So, I want everyone to get out Friday night and go see some racing. I want everyone to get out Saturday night and go see some racing wherever that is, and then make sure you come to Millstream on Sunday. But we are a complement to all the other tracks, and we want to also see if we can get some of these local kids a chance to get a car and get it out there and race. And I want to find more ways, and that's, you'll probably hear that, later this year and going into next year. I want to find more ways to get kids involved and to go into the racetrack. Is it starting out just going over to the spectator side and watching? Is it figuring out a way to get them into the pits to see what's going on? Is it to run like a day camp where we can get some race cars out there? And so kids can understand what has to go into getting a race car ready and prepped and everything that goes along with it. There's so much behind racing other than just showing up at the track and driving it. And there's a lot of fun in it, and get some great friends, really good friendships.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the types of things that, I'm kind of looking for in the long term is how do we get more people involved?
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. Again, for anybody that just tuned in right now, Scott, tell them a little bit about the Hangover 2 race that's coming up this week.
Yep. So the Hangover 2 is a cross promotion with Sandusky Speedway. They've been running this for a long time. They're running on New Year's Day. We're running the 2nd. So that's why we're the Hangover 2. Same classes, same divisions, champagne stock, moonshine stock, and the whiskey stock. The champagne is kind of like unlimited. You'll see a lot of dirt late models and things like that. Moonshine is your bombers, street stocks, Fremont trucks, and the whiskey is a front wheel drive class. And we're doing everything the same. So if you teched at Sandusky, it's the same tech guy who's going to be at Millstream. The gates open at 9 at both tracks. The hot laps and main gate open at 11, and racing's at 1. And hope to get everyone out before we have to turn on the lights and when it starts to get cold. But you can register. I highly recommend doing this. Register on My Race Pass. If you go on January 1st, just click on Sandusky Speedway. You register there. Once you get your name in, they'll put you in the right spot if you don't know your spot. Then just go to January 2nd. Also under Sandusky Speedway will be the Hangover 2, which is really Millstream's race. And then you can sign up there. And it's really helpful for all of us. If you plan on racing, go ahead and get registered on My Race Pass.
And ticket price, those types of things, tickets available right now?
Yep. Tickets will be $12 for general admission, $5 for kids between 6 and 12, and then $30 for pit passes. It'll be the same for both races. Now, we don't have any advance ticket sales way of doing that yet, so it'll just be at the on race day. I can say this, at Millstream especially, if you have a family, we only want one person from the party to stand in the line to get your tickets. We're trying to limit how many people are all standing together. So if you can have everyone stay in a car, just come out and stay in a different spot. The lines, we just want to keep down. Same thing for concessions. If we can just send one or two people instead of sending a family of 4 or 5, that'd be helpful for everyone. As we know, the COVID thing is real. There's no, you can't dispute that. And so we want to keep everyone as safe as we can at the racetrack. And I don't want anyone having any issues by coming out to the race. It's all open. We are completely open air. So there's plenty of room to sit and spread out. But let's be as safe as we can.
No doubt about that.
100%.
100%.
And I like your approach on the property, because there's something there that I think would always work. A race that I used to go to as a kid down in Terre Haute, the U.S. Dirt Nationals. But we'll talk about that sometime. I think a race like that at the end of the year would be perfect there as things get it going. But we'll talk about that in the future, because I know we're going to be doing some talking.
That sounds great. I'm open to any great idea or any bad idea. I'm open to listen to all of them.
Well, I got a lot of bad ideas.
I'm full of them too, so.
Now, think those bad ideas through a long time, Scott, because some of the bad ideas he has are really bad ideas. Then you'll need to call me, because I know bail bondsmen all over the country. Okay, so just be careful in that respect. Is all I got to do is to warn you. How's that?
Oh, hey, Scott, speed dial.
Right.
Scott Warner, thank you for your time today, man. We really appreciate it, and we're really excited to see Millstream get up and running again. Dwayne, any final thoughts here before we wrap this thing up today?
Just everybody get out to Millstream this weekend, Sandusky and Millstream. These are always fun races, and follow Millstream's Facebook page. There's gonna be a lot on there, and I can't wait. Well, I'm excited. Millstream's gonna be back and heading in the right direction. Scott, some
final words from you too, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
I just first off, I want to thank both of you guys for having me on. It's been great. And I said this to Wayne off air, but I'll tell everyone on air. He's a great asset to Northwest Ohio when it comes to dirt racing, and I can't thank him enough for what he does for everyone, because he is all over the place. So if you get a chance to see him in person, thank him for doing everything he's done. But we are just looking forward to having the Hangover 2, and especially getting 2020 behind us, getting 2021 on the way. We'll have our schedule out for the track next month. We'll probably do a whole show on that. And then we'll also go over the rules probably in February, because we were trying to blend in some rules to get as many cars as we can to the track that makes sense with the rule packages. There's some rule packages locally that don't match up very well, or we're trying to match up. So we're working on that. But we're looking forward to having everyone out, and I really appreciate everyone's support, and looking forward to a great season.
That'll wrap it up for us today on The Throttle. Mr. Dwayne Hancock, Mr. Scott Warner, thank you very much for your time. Dwayne and I will be back again next Monday, same time, same station, right after the noon news. It's about 5 minutes before 1. We need to wrap some things up, and we'll close the doors to the Dome for Monday.